I don't mind a drama. I love a drama. Just this drama is too drama.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I'm one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me are my co-hosts, Ash Zen is No Laughing Matter Moreland.
Hi, y'all.
And Big D Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week, we take a look back in time to decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, or want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie you take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. That's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all that information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, to hang out with us live, follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing today?
So, Gene, tonight I'm excited to go back to 1981 in Bunker Hill Academy with the other cadets as we review the 1981 American drama film, Taps.
Well, and Jamie wrote in and said, howdy. I would be interested in commissioning Taps, the 1981 film starring Timothy Hutton, Sean Penn, and Tom Cruise. Admittedly, I had not seen or even heard of this movie, which was released 5 days before I was born, until last night, when my husband suggested we watch it when I returned home from dropping my 18-year-old son off at a hotel to then start Air Force basic training. I was pretty impressed as I didn't have incredibly high hopes for this movie and instantly thought I'd love to hear you all talk about it. Kind regards, Jamie V.
I don't know if this is the movie you want to watch as you drop your child off at basic. What is she expecting? She's going to have to make a message and drive by the school and be like, "It's mommy. Are you okay in there? Come out.
I'm here for you. Please just walk out.
It's Jamie. Come out to mommy."
Taps is a 1981 drama starring George C. Scott, Timothy Hutton, Ronnie Cox, Tom Cruise, Sean Penn, and Evan Handler. The film earned Timothy Hutton a Golden Globe and was based on the 1979 novel Father Sky. Filmed at Valley Forge Military Academy and College, Taps follows a group of military school students who decide to take over their school to save it from closing. It was Sean Penn's first film role and Tom Cruise's first major role, following a brief appearance in Endless Love a few months earlier. So Big D, Ash, we always ask what your memories are of the movie we're covering. Tonight it is Taps, and Big D, we'll start with you.
So I was way too young when this came out. It came out in 81. So I was 7 or maybe 8 at this time. So it came out on HBO, and I was a kid who loved G.I. Joe. I loved playing war. I loved playing soldier. So I do remember being like, wow, these kids are so badass. They're standing up against the adults. And yeah, they're going to defend the school and these big mean adults. Today it's laughable. But back then, I thought this was maybe a training video for me as I played G.I. Joe and as we prepped to play guns out in the backyard.
Man, fuck you, because we've had so many conversations about Red Dawn, and not once did you ever call Red Dawn's concept laughable. Laughable? Red Dawn, that was the Russian military. This is just like the National Guard and some cops.
Yeah, but Red Dawn, it's a very special movie to me. I'm sorry.
Special is not the word I would use.
Well, for me, Red Dawn, Taps, Toy Soldiers, all those movies got jumbled up in my head from childhood. I couldn't have told you where one plot line ended and another began. I'm really glad I got to see this again. So thank you, Jamie, so much for commissioning it, because it's so different from the other two. This movie's more akin to Rambo First Blood, which I fucking love, than Red Dawn, which I don't really care for.
I've heard of this movie, but I didn't know what it was about, other than it was about military stuffs. And I know what the Tap song is, because my family's military, but for some reason I thought this was a Vietnam movie. And it may be just because of the way I was raised, because my dad, as I've said, was in the Vietnam War. And so I feel like most of the war stuff I remember as a kid was related to Vietnam. And somehow this got lumped into that. But who knew? Didn't know it was about a military school, didn't know the plot. So I kind of went into it with fresh eyes, and it was interesting. Not Red Dawn interesting, but interesting.
We promise that's going to be the last Red Dawn reference of the podcast.
I don't know.
No, it's not. No, it's
Maybe.
not.
We'll see what Big D's score is, and then we'll promise not to talk about Red Dawn again.
All right, with that, let's hit the trailer.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have been informed that Bunker Hill Academy is to be closed. An end to nearly a century and a half of tradition, and an end to the heart of us.
Sir, how can they do this?
With the stroke of a pen, sir. Their field of honor was a desktop.
The lady said the proprietors ordered the school closed. Now, as I see it, we are the proprietors.
You tell us where you put those weapons, or this will be the sorriest day of your life.
All right, we have 3 demands. They're very reasonable. When they're met, we'll be happy to return every weapon, every shell.
You say we. Who else?
Number 1, I want a meeting with General
Put your
Bash.
hands behind
Now,
your
you
back.
stay where you are, Sheriff. Everyone in here is here because they want to be here.
Our son would not be involved in something like this.
Lady, if my son can be involved in it, your son can be involved in it.
My men, our tanks, our helicopters, we will take this campus.
So anybody who isn't 100% sure of what we're doing, take 1 step forward. Attention! Over! Huh! Major Moreland, he's our man. Major Moreland, he's our man. They don't scare us, do they, Charlie?
No, sir. Me neither, sir. They don't scare me.
What in God's name did they teach you in here?
You and I have nothing more to talk about.
Cadet Brian Moreland meets privately with Bunker Hill Military Academy Commander General Harlan Bache, who promotes him to Cadet Major, the highest cadet rank. The next day, Bache announces that the school's board of trustees will sell the school to real estate developers, but that they will remain open for 1 more year to allow the seniors to graduate and the remaining cadets to find other schools. This gives many cadets hope that the school can be saved. General Harlan Bache, he's kind of the patriarch of this academy, and it was such a genius move to use George C. Scott, the great George C. Scott, as General Bache. He played Patton in the 1970 movie Patton, and if you haven't seen it, please do. It's not perfect, but it's really entertaining. And that movie ends on a sour note. For those who don't know, Patton was the man to help the Allies win World War II, but he wasn't really like a man for all times. His reputation kind of degraded after that. He was a little too intense and ill-suited for life after the war. Taps seems to pick up where Patton left off. Like, imagine you took this general, they were like, okay, after the war, you got to rebuild Germany. He's like, I'm not really good about this. Or like, you got to be nice to people. He's like, I'm not really good at that. And they're like, okay, we're going to put you in this quiet military academy with only boys to lead. And just hopefully you'll just stay there until you die. I see General Bache as General Patton just a few years later.
Yeah, I'm really glad you used the word intense, because that's exactly what this dude looked like to me. People like this turned me off to the military. And I say that because like everyone in my family was military before like my age group. My dad was really successful in the Air Force along with his two brothers. I have over 9 cousins that are really high up in the Army, one of which is, a light colonel, and he's got his, whole thing in like psyops, and he's really, awesome. And I've got other cousins on my dad's side that are in the Army. And so like, it was like, okay, maybe I'll do that to pay for school. Cause as I've said, y'all make fun of me for being a bougie bitch now, but like, I didn't grow up with money at all. And so if you were going to be like a doctor or a lawyer in my family, you went into the military, and that's like how you paid for it. And so I thought maybe that would be my route. But then I went to this open house for high school where I was in between 2 schools, and one school ROTC instructor like met us at the door with like his little cronies behind him. And he was so intense, like this guy, and like raising his voice and kind of yelling. And I was just like, you know what? I really don't like authority. I have always had an authority complex. And I was like, not going to do that. I can't be a part of a group of people who talk to you like this or where you were expected to talk like that. And I just decided to get scholarships.
I showed up to Air Force Junior ROTC. You get a uniform for free? Yeah, for free. Cool. You get a rank. Cool. If people are like not being responsible, you could write them demerits. Fucking cool. We're going to teach you how to shine your shoes and like wear your pants and shirt right. Awesome. And you get to hang out with military people. I was like, this is the fucking best deal ever.
When I was getting recruited for the Army, my recruiter was an Army Ranger. And I remember being like, holy shit, he's a Ranger. Oh, great. But he was a shitbag. He was a shitbag Ranger. He was a recruiter Ranger because he couldn't serve in a Ranger battalion because he was a piece of shit. When I see Beish, I get a little weird vibe from him. He loves and feeds off the worship of these kids. He sees the way they look at him, and there's something kind of sad and pathetic about him. This isn't where a decorated Army commander, a general, would want to be. And when the kids are like, hey, have you seen it? Were you scared? And he's like, I lost 50 pounds of it. All brown. Come on, man. What are you really going to just embellish the story of these kids? So I don't think we should be worshiping him. He's a bit of a fuck up who does things that are questionable throughout the movie.
I liked General Beish. I like that they gave him this like balanced character, right? Like he wasn't this infallible war hero, and he's fucking fun. He's talking about civilians, and he's like, yeah, I would want to go to a golf course with a bunch of people with an alligator on the tit. He's giving kids like cigars and brandy.
Yes.
That's the kind of general I want to hang out with. He's pretty badass.
Well, you know who I don't want to hang out with? Tom Cruise in this movie. Because I love me some Tom Cruise, especially like pre-crazy Scientology Tom Cruise. But this Tom Cruise, there's this scene in this part of the movie where like he's got his tight pants and his little beret and his little sword, and he decides to walk down the hallway, and he walks past all of these other dudes, and his butt cheeks are clearly clenched around something massive that he must carry down the hallway in his ass cheeks, or like the school will implode. And to make it worse, he's still got a little bit of that chunky Cruise baby fat face, and they leave the camera on him. I mean, he walks down there for a good solid 12 seconds. And I was just going, why the fuck is he walking like that?
I'm sure Big D's got a lot to add to what I'm about to say. But if you knew the dumb shit that passes for perfect in junior ROTC, like you would be shocked. So things that we had to do. First of all, getting your gig line right. Every person I've ever dated, my mom, just people in my life in general are always trying to straighten out my fucking pants and my belt. No. They're right. They're right the way they are. It's my gig line. But the one that you might be surprised about is the quarters in the butt cheeks. That is an actual thing. So we were taught in order to do drill properly, stand at attention properly, you put a quarter between your butt cheeks and keep that shit clenched the whole time. It keeps your posture good. It keeps your legs tight, and you move that way. Other things are like, using a lighter to melt your shoe polish before you put it on your shoes. There's a lot of dumb shit.
Nobody was putting anything in my ass to teach me to drill correctly or posture. That was not part of my Army basic training.
Colonel Byrd or Sergeant Saul, if you're listening right now, I just want to set the record straight. Neither of you stuck a quarter in my butt. I don't want you to have to be... And I don't know what the statute of limitations is on that shit.
We just found out your childhood trauma.
Yeah. After he got shot. I want to see all you boys.
No.
Toe the line.
It wasn't the drive-by and the fact that you got shot. It's that the dude put a quarter in your butt cheeks.
Okay, boys, everybody toe the line. I want to see those quarters. Okay, bend them over, but jumping jacks. Keep those quarters there. I want to see them.
Yeah, that was Cadet Captain Riddle who did that.
The movie's 2 hours long. I want to see some of the quarter butt training. I want to see why these cadets are badass. I want to see how proficient they are. Let's see them on the range. Let's see them drilling. Let's see why they love the school so much, why they love Beish so much. They don't show any of that, so I'm not invested in these kids other than that they really love the school. I wish I saw more of what they could do.
Careful what you wish for, man, because we got like a 10-minute like drill and ceremony scene that was completely unnecessary. Yeah. And I think that's what they were trying to do. This guy's on a horse. These guys are just marching by. This guy's got a plume sticking out of his helmet. Honestly, a better use of time in this movie would have just been to cut 10 to 15 to 20 to 30 minutes out of it.
Or 40.
Side note, the King Bee just purchased a laser engraver. I'm going to talk to him about maybe getting some Shat
quarters to shove up people's butt cheeks.
Butt cheek coins.
Challenge coins?
Yeah, challenge coins made so people could put them between their butt cheeks while they listen to taps. During a dance at the academy, teenagers outside the gates harass some cadets and a brawl breaks out. When Beish attempts to end the fight, his pistol is seized by one of the local boys and it discharges, killing another local boy. Beish is arrested and has a heart attack, which leaves him in critical condition. The board decides to close the school immediately. Moreland and his officers decide to take control of the campus, and when the dean of students arrives with the local sheriff, they are confronted by an armed cadre of cadets led by Major Moreland, who demand to meet with Beish and negotiate with the board of trustees to keep the school open.
If you've never seen this movie before, there's a scene that kind of sets off all of this, which is they're having this school dance, and the guys are in their little dress outfits, costumes, and it's not costumes.
Uniforms.
She's got a point though there, because they're like in assorted uniforms.
Yeah. They're in like the fancy dress, right? So they are there, and then all of the girls that strangely all have lace bibs attached to their dresses show up. It looks something like out of like a Kappa Alpha sorority party. And they just like stand there in front of their cars with some beers and make fun of the people coming into the dance. Who does this? Who posts up in front of a military academy and makes fun of the people going in? I mean, it's like they literally have nothing else to do. And this reminded me from that scene from a much greater movie, School Ties, where, you know, the hoods, the greasers, they beat up Brendan Fraser before he goes, because he's going to this like fancy school. And so they wear their leather jackets and he's wearing a Letterman jacket. So he must be beat up. And so that makes sense.
I mean, Bunker Hill, Illinois, where this military academy is set, not where it was actually filmed, but the setting of the film, it's got a population of 1,774. So these kids are probably bored out of their minds. I'd say, you know, this is possible. What I was impressed with was that all the kids at Bunker Hill, the students, the cadets, they were allies, man. Like what set them off was homophobic slurs. They said, we will not stand for that. Oh, they attack these kids. They are allies.
But again, this goes back to Beish, to the adult in the room. You know, obviously, there's been a problem with these locals. You don't post one single adult outside. You don't notify the police. If you had one adult out there, you would have either straightened the kids out or they would have beaten the piss out of these locals one time and it wouldn't have happened again.
I mean, Beish is clearly having a really bad day in this movie because not only does he get arrested for shooting a kid, another kid pulls the gun out in front of dozens of witnesses, but somehow Beish gets arrested. Somehow Beish gets arrested. And then he has a heart attack. And I felt like there were two writers involved in this project who couldn't decide which way they were going to save money on having George C. Scott only appear in the first 20 minutes of the movie. And they're like, fuck it, let's go with both. He's going to get arrested and have a heart attack.
Dude, so I hadn't seen this movie in years. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get a scene where the locals, we're going to get a dust up. Somebody's going to get arrested. Oh, shit. I yelled out loud when that kid got shot in the chest. I was so completely unprepared for it. But Beish, you know what? We have to see that he's going to have a heart attack. Let's show him taking his medication twice. We don't see the troops at all training, but we see him taking meds twice. We see an ominous him putting the gun into the holster, a little bit heavy-handed. But I think they're just trying to show us that he's an incompetent leader, and this was bound to happen.
I love that this is where Big D draws the line at heavy-handed on this movie because they showed him putting the gun on and taking his medication. But Big D, you were shocked that a kid got shot. I was shocked that nobody's trying to help any of the kids that got shot. We talked about this in Eternal Affairs. I cannot stand it in movies when a person gets shot and nobody even tries to help them.
No triage.
Every kid that gets shot in the chest in this movie, and that's, by the way, the only place anyone gets shot in this movie, they're immediately presumed to be dead. Like military academy kids are around. They presumably know CPR.
Mm-hmm.
National Guardsmen, Army general in beige. Not a single one of them attempts CPR or even tries to like staunch a wound. They're just like, oh, looks like he's dead.
That's it. He's dead. Yeah.
I'm like yelling at the screen. What? Is that a fucking kill shot? Like the accidental thing, like it automatically just takes him out. And it reminded me, I don't know if either of you watched Squid Game, but there's the famous scene like now with the red light, green light, where the machine shoots all the people and every single one is like a headshot or a chest shot. And there are just these precise like death hits. And that's everything in this movie. They literally just either walk off and leave them, or they're these really slow-mo shots of either their chest wound and like the blood packets exploding, or there's like a slow-mo shot of the ambulance like as slow as possible backing up to come and take the kid in slow-mo on the stretcher. Nobody's pressed gauze up against the wound. Nobody even checks the pulse. They're just like, oh man, they got shot. They must be dead.
Dude, but I'll tell you one thing. Those local kids might have been a bunch of fucking badass kids. When that kid goes down, no one runs. If I'm there and Gene takes one in the chest, I love you, Gene, but I'm running. We got a crazy general. It's time to go.
A gun goes off, you're running. A fucking werewolf, you want people to stay and fight?
Well, they said stay on the path. I would have stayed on the path.
Oh my God.
Okay.
That was the problem.
Yeah, stay on the path. Stay on the path.
Jamie, I'm gonna do you a solid here, and I'm actually gonna defend this movie on one point, and it's a very strong point. There's a scene where the sheriff and the dean of students, and they're all coming to collect all the weapons from Bunker Hill. It's the first time you see the cadets like stand up, and Big D, Ash, tell me you didn't get goosebumps when you hear that and they look up and there's like a dozen M16 wielding cadets just ready to fuck some shit up in their berets. I was like, hooah!
So, you know, I have so much love for you, but this is the genre where you and I like most like diversify in terms of what we consider good movies, because I got zero goosies. I'm too logical, I think. So we do these color things at work. It's super cheesy where we have to put what like our color is on the outside of our office. And I'm a green, which means I'm highly analytical and highly logical. And that prevents me, I think, from getting goosies here, because I'm the whole time going, why are they trying to protect this school so heavily? Like, I get it.
Yeah.
They like it, but defend it with all of these mass weapons? Like, nobody thinks like, yo, little dramatic, because here's what non-military people would do. They start a campaign. Maybe they do a petition, maybe a TikTok video, a synchronized dance where at the end they're like, save our school. Cool. But stealing all the weapons and pulling M16s on higher ranking actual military adult personnel, I don't think that that's badass. I think that it's just dumb.
That was a cop.
He's an adult.
I haven't seen these fucking teenagers do anything. They can't even protect a warm cup of piss when these local kids come in and start talking shit to them. Show them on the range. Show Moreland and Beige like drilling them, and that they're all dead crack shots, that they're proficient. They're actually out maneuvering. They're clearing rooms. I want to see that shit. But this scene here, Gene, is more of a reason why Beige is out of control, power hungry, and the school needs to be shut down. It's dangerous. This is not how you store weapons and munitions. You don't keep them sitting around in a barn with windows, with glass windows and a single padlock. In the military, all of our weapons were secured within a building in the barracks, okay? And we didn't have access to any kind of munitions. Beige has allowed this little collection that one of the cops says, well, you could start World War III. And he's got this like right next to a community pool.
Well, and I love our kid, officer here, our kid major, his argument, sir, we've got the right to bear arms and that's protected. Like, yeah, sure, you have the right to bear arms, but you have no right to bear stolen arms. It's so dumb, Gene. Come on.
I mean, I'm no military academy lawyer here, but possession is 9/10 of the law. It's in their hands.
But they're children.
Trying to confiscate it.
They have to be of age.
Well, the cadets secure the academy's perimeter and raid a local food supply warehouse, but one of their trucks breaks down on the way back. As Cadet Captain Dwyer attempts to fix the engine, a group of local boys surround the truck until hot-headed Cadet Captain David Sean opens fire with his M16. The locals scatter and the cadets flee, ramming a police car in the process. When the police surround the campus, Moreland assembles the cadets and offers them a chance to walk out. All of them choose to stay. The siege grows more tense when the National Guard arrives.
Okay, so it's hard to think of the country's collective feelings for the military being different. Like today, everything is Toby Keith and red, white, and blue flags and people with fucking patriotic stickers on their cars. Back in 81, the shit was very different. We were coming off of a war that was very unpopular. We didn't do very well. They didn't welcome the soldiers back. And I think a lot of the movies conveyed that in the early 80s. We did Rambo, you were talking about, where you get John Rambo's coming back. He's a simple vet. He just wants to get through the town. Of course, the dickhead sheriff has got to take him up, pick up. He doesn't want no long-haired hippie in his town. And before you know it, they're hosing down John Rambo, and he's off into the woods killing the deputies. There was another movie that I remembered that kind of is a combo between this and Rambo. It was called Tank. It came out in 94, and it was James Garner, who plays like this red-blooded American. He's a commander, I think, of a tank. He's got an M4 Sherman. The local sheriff, again, picks up his son and frames him for a crime he doesn't commit, puts him in jail. So, of course, we got James Garner's got to muscle up, gets his tank, goes through on a tank rampage through the town. So I think at this time, the civilian versus the military was a common discussion maybe that was going on, because they portray all the military adults in this movie and the kids as kind of a bit wacky. And this was something I felt was very common for the time.
In defense of Rambo, he actually doesn't kill anybody in First Blood.
Oh, bullshit. You're wrong.
He doesn't. He severely wounds people.
Hey, he throws a rock at the helicopter and the dude falls out.
The guy with the rifle fell out on his own.
He threw a rock and hit the helicopter. I'm sorry. Are the Palestinians wrong too, Big D?
Is that what we're saying? Well, they threw rocks.
If they hit a dude in a window and he falls out, yes, you're responsible.
Ash, can I get a ruling here? If a guy's got a rifle and he's in a helicopter and I throw a rock at the helicopter and the guy falls out of the helicopter and dies, did I kill him?
Wait, you hit the helicopter wobbles, guy falls out.
I mean, you're the one who threw the rocket.
Rock.
A rock.
Oh, I thought you said a rocket.
No, a rock. If I throw a stone at a helicopter.
No. If it is a stone, no. Not unless the stone is propelled by a rocket.
Court is
So if I drop a rock off an overpass, it hits your car and you crash, it's not my fault?
That is not the same thing.
That's different.
If you throw a rock off an overpass at a guy who's trying to shoot you.
No. But the bigger problem here is that they're trying to teach us that these kids, that their cause is righteous. That these kids are there, they're defending their school where other kids are tearing theirs down. We're supposed to feel sorry for these kids, but these kids are fanatics. They're all shaped by that lunatic general. The cadets at no point in this movie do the right thing. Gene, or was Ash, you said, yes, you should have protested. Maybe you could get an attorney. Maybe some of the parents have money and you could petition to have another year added on. You could do something, but instead, you get them taking control, and it is a shit show. Tom Cruise takes those 2 deuce and a halves into town to go on like the food run where they're going to steal it. One breaks down. He pulls out that M16 and starts firing indiscriminately into the sky around the locals. The death toll continues to climb. We get people getting injured, shot all over the place. At no point are these kids right.
Last week, Kevin, our wonderful guest, he talked about how he loves a movie with nuance that shows that people can be both good and bad, and that it just depends on whose perspective you're looking at when you decide who's right or who's wrong. A movie that's not that, this one. Because I kept thinking the whole time, so these kids are wrong. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times it's written in the script for a character to say, but we just want to keep our school open. Okay, that's a fine thing for you to want, but you can't create a militia and defend with deadly force. Like, that doesn't make you right. It just makes you a fucking criminal.
I got to disagree here, though, because the fucking state is at fault, too. It's a super odd pattern of escalation. What's the original request? Listen, I want to meet with the board of trustees and I want to have the sale of Bunker Hill reviewed. Seems pretty fucking simple. Get some people together, you have a meeting, and it's all over. Instead, what do? They're like, we're going to send in the cops, the National Guard, we're going to cut off the water, we're going to cut off the power, we're going to bring in tanks, we're going to fucking assault it with soldiers.
I want to remind you that this very reasonable request comes with a line of M16s that gave you the goosies. It's not like he's like, hey, I want to just have a nice meeting with you guys. And that's how he started it. It's like, hey, I want to have a nice meeting with you guys or we'll shoot you in the face.
But that was in response to the sheriff being a fucking prick and threatening Moreland. What are police other than a show of force in and of themselves? They show up armed.
Oh my God.
Did you want to have a fucking town hall? Imagine if you lived next door. These kids are like, hey, who's got a grenade? Oh, I got one. And they're like throwing them to each other. These kids are a hazard. If I lived in that neighborhood, I'd want the tanks to roll in and level it too.
That was Shovel. He's a goofball. They established he was a goofball.
Yeah, so you want to throw him a grenade. Yeah, that's a smart move. This is just, what is it? Normal political discord, right? This is just normal. Just let it go.
I feel like you guys are singling me out because I'm Middle Eastern here.
Oh my God. Move on.
The next morning, officers report that some cadets have fled the campus. Moreland again offers the cadets the opportunity to leave. Led by Lieutenant Edward West, at least half the remaining cadets leave. After the electricity and water are turned off, one of the cadets is severely burned as they attempt to restart a generator. Afterward, Moreland offers to stand down if the order comes from General Beish. The National Guard's commander, Colonel Kirby, replies that Beish had died the previous night. The cadets, deeply hurt by Beish's death, hold a military memorial service in his honor.
So there's a scene in this part of the movie where they play messages from mom and dad. And I was okay with this movie up to this point. I love the idea of exploring the dangers of like only military education. I really like this theme of the danger of following false heroes. I think that that's played out beautifully with the memorial scene that they give him, where they clearly worship the ground this guy walks on, and they don't have enough good father figures in their lives or like leadership figures, and that's all great. But then they play the messages from home after like a 1-minute sequence of like trucks pulling in like all rapidly and crazy. And if you've not seen it, the messages are like, Gene, this is your mommy. I really just want you to come out here right now. If you come out, you won't be in trouble, buddy. We just want to see you. Dick, this is your dad. I love you, son. Just put your M16 down and just walk out and it'll all be okay. And they're crying. And then I realized what this movie had become. It's become a fucking siege film that's trying to be a drama. But it's not a drama. It's a siege film. And it's not particularly a good siege film. And I think it's a missed opportunity. But I think here the movie just totally spirals out of control.
So Ash, as a parent, I think we could have de-escalated this quickly. You don't go there begging for them to come out. You start sharing embarrassing information.
Yeah.
Tommy, do your friends know that you wet the bed?
Do they know you play with yourself 4 times a day in the shower?
They probably know that.
I found your masturbation socks, Tommy.
We know where you keep your quarters, son.
Yes. Oh, why is the lotion gone, Tommy? If you did that shit, these kids would be running out of there. They'd be a fan with their parents.
Okay, fair point. But for every like bad recording by a parent going by in a van, we get some pretty good speeches by adults in this movie. Like Sergeant Moreland, he's a badass, right? He like shows up and he's like, fuck all these civilians. Bitch, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to talk to my son. You know, he's pretty great. Like I like him. Yeah. It's a great scene. And then, of course, you get Colonel Kirby, amazing speech talking about, like, you know, you're not a soldier. Soldiers try to stay alive. You're a death lover, right? Like, there's some pretty good shit in here. I hesitate to say that it is great material, but this is some good scripting that we shouldn't overlook just because of the misstep with loudspeaker van. While reading this plot point, I had a little trouble getting through it. And it's because of the generator scene. Before doing this podcast, I could have sworn Breaking Bad was the first time I'd seen Giancarlo Esposito on screen. But this podcast has shown me that he was in Maximum Overdrive, he was in Trading Places, he was in Harley Davidson, The Marlboro Man, and he was in The Usual Suspects, a lot of Shat movies. I'm starting to notice a pattern here. Anytime Giancarlo Esposito dies on screen, it's always way over the top. Like, if we think about it, he's getting machine gunned. He's getting, like in Maximum Overdrive, getting electrocuted by an arcade game. Or in this scene, he's getting lit up like a stuntman by a generator. When they were setting up the generator, I saw them pouring the gas in. I saw the guy trying to start it. I'm like, okay, something's going to go wrong here. I thought it'd be like some sparks, like a puff of smoke. That is not what happened.
No, please, Gene, this is a like after school PSA. People, watch this scene, okay? They're starting out, oh, we don't have power. Let's go to the generator room. Cue shot of gasoline tank with gas all over it. Oh, look at that switch. It's got exposed wires. What could go wrong here? Then he's filling it up. It overflows. They flip the thing. He looks like one of those like those like socks. You know, they have it like a used car sales.
The inflatable man, yeah.
Yes, the inflatable man flipping his arms around. And all the people just stand there like, oh my. And before you know it, they're just wheeling him out. This is some good shit.
We also get like the mega Wilhelm scream. It's not Giancarlo Esposito. It's like this. It goes on for like a while. I was like, man, somebody in the stunt department got really into this scene. And I appreciate it for the camp factor.
Yeah, I have to say, if we ever do like a compilation of bad movie moments, this is going to be right after the one where they blow up the pillow in Monster Squad for the Wolfman, because it's that laughable. But Giancarlo Esposito is pretty amazing. And even at this age, other than the crazy death scene, he's still one of the best parts of like anything that he's in. And that's true here as well. The dialogue he delivers, it's like got a clip to it that's nice. It's relatable. He's sincere in a way that some of his fellow actors haven't mastered yet, looking at you, Tom Cruise. And you can see how he'd eventually become somebody like of the caliber that could play like a Gus in Breaking Bad, because he's good. And he was a snack, y'all. Like, he looked good when he was young.
I don't understand how you're calling him a snack and then saying that Cruise was fat-faced. Did you see Cruise in the shower? He was fucking ripped.
Cruise's body looked, I mean, he's little. I don't like short guys. No offense to any of you short guys out there. I love all of you, but I don't want to have sex with you.
But you don't like tall guys either.
But I do. Are you kidding? Tom's 6'3.5". I don't like big, like, I got muscles, look at my veins. Like, no, I don't like that. That scares me because they look like Bane. But, you know, I'm okay with, I like a tall, skinny, brooding reader, you know? That's kind of gothy. That's what I like. But Cruise looks good. He's just tiny. He's just a tiny man. But you got to admit, he's got a chunky face.
Well, he's like 15 years old.
He's a baby.
What do you
I said
yes.
it's baby fat. I said that.
But I want to ask you guys now, okay? Of the performances, and the cast is great across the board. We've talked about it. You have George C. Scott. You have Ronnie Cox. But the main ones are the three young boys, let's just say, who become major megastars. So we have Tom Cruise, Sean Penn, and Timothy Hutton. Of the three, which do you think does the best job?
Sean Penn.
I can't agree with that. I think Sean Penn. When he takes his turn and he starts having his like spaz out where he's in front of everybody, he's doing like his news reporter thing. It was unexplained. It was a little erratic. I didn't care for it. I would say Timothy Hutton over Penn in this movie. I'm not saying that they went on to do bigger. Sean Penn clearly went on to be the superior actor overall, but in this movie, it's Hutton all the way.
I think you can see, though, the like beginnings of Penn. Like, he's such a good crier. He's an actor that is such a good crier, and he does that so well here.
Agreed.
The next night, a tank rolls up to the main gate. A cadet on sentry duty panics and runs out to surrender. He drops his weapon, which fires upon hitting the ground. The National Guard return fire and kill another cadet. Moreland orders his cadets to surrender, but rebellious David Shawn starts shooting, and the campus is overrun by the authorities. Moreland runs to Shawn's room to stop him, but both are killed by suppressing fire, and the siege ends abruptly. A montage of scenes from the Academy's proud past flash across the screen in the aftermath.
So they shine a giant spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
The kid starts running in the giant spotlight. He drops his gun, and one single round goes off. It's not like 100 rounds go off. It's one. And you've seen that he's dropped his M16. So why do you shoot the kid with a tank? Like, nobody thinks this is ridiculous. And you know, I think the thing that put the worst taste in my mouth about this is I felt so much of like a connection and a tribute to Les Mis here, where you got a bunch of young men that are trying to fight for something that they believe in. You got a young kid who's running off and he's the first one of us to die. They're treating him like he's like Gavroche and Les Mis. And is it sad that the young kid dies? Yeah, it is. But here's the difference. This is not a bunch of French people fighting at the barricades for freedom against a tyrant. This is a group of misguided youth that are, what are they fighting for? Not rights. They're not fighting for the poor. They're not fighting for their country. They're fighting to keep their fucking school open.
Yeah, freedom. Freedom.
It's dumb.
I've dropped weapons plenty of times in the field and they never just discharge.
Gene, you're a musical lover like me. Did you not get those vibes? Like you were like waiting for them, like, don't you fret, Monsieur Méliès, like as he laid there dying?
I mean, this would arguably be a better movie as a musical.
Oh God.
Oh, that would be. I agree with that. I agree with that.
When the guardsmen do come in, when they do finally raid him the next morning, Sean is up there. Tom Cruise, he's up there in the window and he's got the machine gun positioned up there, ready to like rain down fucking death on everybody. How does he know they didn't win?
No, I think at this point, the adults were just fed up. They just wanted to kill these fucking kids. They're down to maybe 25 kids. The kids have already said that they can't patrol the perimeter. If you want to de-escalate this and end it, wait for the guards to go out in their nightly shifts and you just abduct them. You get some guys in ghillie suits down lane in the woods. You take out 2 or 3 guards every night. In 10 days, this is over.
Fuck that. Just wait till they muster on the quad. They're all marching around, having funerals and shit. That's the time to strike.
Yeah, or just put out pizzas. If you put out pizzas, I guarantee you're going to get 2 or 3 kids to defect.
I mean, they're shoving the theme down our throat by this point about false heroes. But then we return to the parade at the end of the super dramatic scene of Penn walking out, carrying Moreland's body into the smoky post New Year's Eve fireworks. I don't really get what they're saying here. Like, are we saying that military academies are wrong? Are we saying that because they have more guidance than just their general, maybe it would have been better? Are we saying that the military is bad because they all wind up like Cruise and his awfully deliver line of, it's beautiful, man, where he's fucking killing people? Like, what is the message of this movie?
At the risk of putting a poetic bow on it, I think it takes us right back to the beginning of this podcast, which is the idea that, like General Patton, that the military academy, which was once a necessary part of American life and a workhorse of spreading democracy, has become anachronistic, and it doesn't fit in with the 80s, which was a time of intense capitalism, privatization, and a lack of duty. As a nation, we changed and our priorities changed, and condominiums and golf courses were more important. I think it was that alienation of a generation that won wars for us. Is that clearly communicated in the film? I don't know. Or it might have just been like, hey, it's really cool to pull guns when people try to confiscate your shit.
Bummer.
Well, now is the time in the podcast where we give our wipe score. Our wipe score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie would take to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It is Tom Cruise in the shower and or shooting the National Guard. It's beautiful, man. 5 wipes is an absolute disaster movie. It is trying to hold down the fort while your mom is telling you to come home. Ash, we'll start with you. What is your wipe score for Taps?
So I thought this was a movie with a plot that was delivered pretty melodramatically. And it also hits in a way that's never surprising. You know that the ending's going to be as predictably as depressing as you'd assume it would, that these guys are going to die. It's also got some weird lines in it. Like we get the line at the end of, guys, condominiums are more easily built than leaders.
True.
I mean, just the lines that are meant to be dramatic don't hit the way that I would expect them to. And sure, I get these themes, but I just wish they'd let it play out. Like, if it hadn't become an all-out siege movie, maybe it would have been better if it had been more like the first hour. Maybe with more simplicity, like we could have explored some of those ideas, which I think, again, are awesome ideas to explore. But I think here they fall flat. But it isn't a total loss. This is not a 5 white movie. It's not even a 4 white movie for me. I think you've got some performances that are good. I think visuals are good in it, and it's fine. It's a fine movie. A little worse than average. I'm going to go with 3 wipes.
I think you're underestimating the how badly this could have gone factor. Like, this movie makes a lot of missteps.
Is that really what you're going to go off of? Is that your defense? How bad this could have gone? Okay.
That is my defense, Your Honor.
You know what he's thinking of? Red fucking Dawn. So...
Oh, fuck, it came up again. No, but this movie makes a lot of missteps. Like, Moreland is melodramatic at times. There's a surprisingly low body count. Like, let me tell you, once the National Guard goes in, there's tear gas and smoke everywhere. There's automatic weapons fire. Kids are going to die. A lot more people are going to die than what we saw in this movie. And it is incredibly preachy at times, as I think Ash pointed out quite well. But it presents a lot of interesting questions about American identity, the role of military versus civilian, and whether idealism itself should be an ideal. It's a fun movie. It doesn't have a happy ending. I love both of those things. And in a lesser movie, we would have gotten kids winning through like Home Alone tactics. You know, they're dropping paint cans on soldiers' heads and, you know, bamboozling them with disguises. And in a better movie, the editing would be tighter, the symbolism a little less pronounced. Ash, you're going to hate this. We could say that about Shakespeare. There were heavy Shakespeare vibes in this movie. You went with Les Mis. I can go with Shakespeare.
I know, but I was using Les Mis to prove what a better thing is. There's nothing fucking Shakespeare about this. Oh my God.
You're telling me that end scene when Moreland goes back up there into the room that Sean's in to try to stop it all, there wasn't, you know, oh fuck, what's it called? What's it called?
I don't know what you're referencing.
Dramatic
deaths.
Dramatic irony.
It isn't dramatic irony, though. There's nothing. Irony is when the opposite happens of what you expect to happen. Everyone expected all along that they were going to die.
I still think it's Shakespearean.
Oh my God. Just because it's a tragedy doesn't make it Shakespeare.
No, okay, here's what I'm saying, is that every dumb death that occurred, you could say the same shit about a Shakespearean thing. We'd be like, well, shit, that could have been easily avoided if they had only...
Yeah, you're right. Mercutio was totally unacceptable and excessive. No one has ever said that. Desdemona's death, not affecting at all. If only they'd have a row of M16s waiting as Othello walked out of the bedroom.
Fuck yes, Ash is on fire. I love it.
But what I'm saying is, if you getting back to those 2 points of loose editing and highly pronounced symbolism, those are hallmarks, those are shortcomings, if you will, of Shakespeare. But I choose to see those as strengths of Shakespeare, and therefore I see them as strengths of Taps. For me, it is a 1.5 wipe movie.
Oh, man.
For me, for this movie to work, you have to be pulling for the characters. In Rambo First Blood, John Rambo just wanted to get through town. He's going to see his buddy. That's all you had to do. You wanted him to butcher that sheriff by the end because they wronged him. I not for one moment pulled for these kids. I did not see why they were wronged. I didn't feel bad for them. A lot of them were wealthy, entitled kids who were bitching and moaning about their private military school. Shut the fuck up. As an adult, I found myself siding with the adults. I don't blame the board. It's the board's job to make money. If somebody told me, hey, do you want to keep your investment in this school with a crazy-ass general who's stockpiling weapons and we're barely breaking even, or... let's sell the property, get rid of this crazy bastard. These kids will go to another military school and we'll make millions.
Boo.
Call me a capitalist, buddy.
Capitalist.
I'm closing the damn school down, okay? So I want to ask you two this in closing. Would you rather watch this 2-hour slog or In the Army Now?
Taps.
Oh, God. Pauly Shore all day.
100%. I would rather watch In the Army Now because at least I know I'm going to laugh. It's going to be funny. I gave In the Army Now 3.5 wipes. This movie is the same. 3.5 wipes.
What did I give him In the Army Now?
You gave it a 3. Gene gave it a 3.
Oh, fuck. I hate being held accountable for my decisions. In the Army Now is more enjoyable than this. This is a slog to get through.
It's a drama.
I don't mind a drama. I love a drama. Just this drama is too drama. It's melodrama, if you will. Which you know it isn't? Shakespeare.
Dramatic irony.
Oh my God.
3.5 wipes from Big D, 3 wipes from Ash, 1.5 wipes from me. I will remind everyone once again that Big D gave Red Dawn 1 wipe.
Yeah.
But somehow this is 2.5 wipes worse than Red Dawn. That gives Taps an average wipe score of 2.6 repeating wipes.
Okay, so listen, in Red Dawn, we're fighting off the commies.
Oh my God.
The Chinese were coming from the north. We had the Nicaraguans coming from the south. I was defending the U.S. here. What was I really fighting against? Rezoning some property to build condos? I'm sorry, Gene. I don't see this as a big threat. This is a 2.66 white movie. That now ties this in the 160 spot with a whole bunch of movies. Pretty Woman, Top Gun, Rambo First Blood Part 2, Ghostbusters, Poltergeist, Roadhouse, My Cousin Vinny, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, L.A. Stories, Crocodile Dundee, and 12 Monkeys.
What was the second one you said?
Top Gun.
Yeah, that's the only one that I think is better than this.
Right, because fucking Roger gave it a 3.5. Top Gun is not a 3.5 white movie.
Top Gun is a great movie.
Top Gun is better than this. I'll agree with that.
I agree.
I'm glad we can agree on something tonight.
Yeah.
You chuckle fucks.
Hey, we agree that we love you.
And listen, I don't judge you for putting coins in your ass. You were a child.
I don't either. I think it probably helped you.
Helps your posture now. You have great posture.
Helped your posture. It gave you a nice butt, I'm sure. And
thank you.
Did you guys share coins? Or were you like issued a coin?
No, you just grabbed any coin out of the fucking drawer.
Was it like a quarter or like a 50-cent piece?
Yeah, a quarter. Yeah.
And then what? That might have ended up back in the change drawer. You don't want... So what are you putting that back in the vending machine?
Big deal. I was a kid. I stink palm people in high school. I didn't give a fuck.
What is a stink palm?
Did you wipe your hand through the crack of your ass and then you like wipe it under somebody's nose?
You don't wipe it under their nose, fucking...
It's called a hot Carl. No, a hot Carl.
Barbarian? No, it's just shaking hands.
That's how you get pink eye.
Stinky pinky. Yeah, stinky pinky is you run your finger through the crack of your ass and then you stick it under somebody's nose so the smell stays.
Right.
I thought a stinky pinky was after you fingered a girl.
I don't know what vagina you're talking about. No.
Not mine. Mine is not that.
I think when you stick your finger in your ass crack and then wipe it across under somebody's nose, it's called a gavroche.
And there must be some dramatic Shakespearean irony to it.
I think the hot Carl is finger wiping your ass and then you hook the mouth. It's like a fish hook. I think that's called the hot Carl.
I am so glad I am not a dude. Oh my God.
Man, those people who don't listen to the last half hour of the podcast are really missing out.
No.
Yes, that's where we get good.
High level discussion here.
Speaking of high level discussion, I think we got some voicemail to get to.
We do, Gene. We got a couple of them. Keep them coming in, everybody. Please use our speaker pipe app. It's on the website. If it keeps going the way it is now, we're going to expand it beyond the 90 seconds. So the first voicemail we have comes from one of our longtime listeners, Big Al from Houston.
Hi, Shat crew. This is Big Al calling from Houston again about the 12 Monkeys episode. I just had a quick question. Did any of you guys notice towards the end of the film the elderly woman on the plane? The Dr. Peters, the crazy virus guy, he sits down next to this elderly woman and they have a short conversation in which she says something like, I'm in insurance. And it ends up that she's the same woman who's also one of the future scientists that sends Cole back in time. So does that mean that you want to ensure that certain future events happen? Or was she there to stop the virus? It's really open to interpretation, and I'd just like to hear your thoughts on what she was doing there. Thanks for being awesome. I really love your podcast. Have a great day.
So speaking of people who didn't listen to the second half of the podcast, Big Al, thank you so much for your call. Big D's crazy ass theory, if you want to explain it, Big D, surmised that she was actually there to ensure that the virus made its way throughout the world.
Yeah.
Correct. But Gene, you took, one of our listeners, I don't remember who it was, took my theory of the scientists wanting to ensure it to happen into a new level of understanding who survived the apocalypse. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, so Rob T, our good friend from across the pond, who has called in many times to the pod, basically had the point that perhaps the only people who were able to survive the virus were actually people who had sort of mental issues. And so the mentally ill were the only people around. That would explain why the world that we see in the future is so eccentric and bizarre. That kind of explains a lot.
I agree. All the inmates have issues and all the scientists are far beyond eccentric.
Well, and Big Al, I hope that you're okay from the storm that we just had this week. It was pretty fucking crazy. So I hope you're not in the north part of the city. And we love you.
So next in the voicemail list, we have Sean H., who commissioned Masters of the Universe.
Hey, guys. Thanks for doing Masters of the Universe. The movie was really good. But if you want to know more why the film was so crappy, check out the behind-the-scenes look at the film. It's on YouTube. Plus, did you know there was a sequel greenlit, but since the movie did so badly, It was retitled and reworked into the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, Cyborg. Well, that's my message. Thanks for doing this for me, guys. Keep up the good work.
I love everything about this voicemail, particularly the fact that they thought that they could salvage it by making it Jean-Claude Van Damme Cyborg, which also not a great movie, although I did see it in theaters. So apparently it was good enough to get me into the movie theater.
So, Gene, our next voicemail comes from somebody who put their name in as Frank Falls, but I believe this is one of our longtime listeners who's discussing RAD and BMX in general.
Oh, yeah, 1 year till RAD. Lori Loeffler in that bike suit. I'm getting my BMX out. Woo! Let me know if Tango and Cash is taken. The heart of the lion, taking control of burning desire. Your flame never dying. Woo! Don't lose that feeling. 1 year till RAD. Don't ever stop believing. There's one more moment of truth, and you're gonna face it. Yeah. All right. Appreciate all y'all do. I'll hit y'all up in 6 months.
I really want to start a trend where people just spot podcasts that are coming up a year from now and then send us in a voicemail about that a year in advance. It's fucking awesome. I'm pumped for RAD now a year from now.
Me too.
And Gene, our final voicemail is on a serious note, where it's one of our listeners. Again, it's Mike Hall, and he's got a serious question for you about your workplace etiquette.
Hi guys, it's Mike from London. Just was checking out the new shatpod.com website. Looks good.
Thanks.
Was listening to the Vice Versa podcast earlier, and I was shocked to hear that it wasn't a big hit in the US. I guess UK terrestrial TV got the rights cheap on it, because I swear by the time I was 10, I'd seen that film a dozen times or more. It was definitely a childhood favourite of mine. Also, Gene, what's this throwing the monitor about? Can you give us a bit more information on it? Was it in a fit of rage? Was it a bad meeting? Was it an argument with a colleague? It's been a dream of mine to launch my monitor through the window at work on a number of occasions, so would love to hear more.
So, Mike, not that I am condoning this behavior by any means, but basically the backstory on this one, my day job has a very, very big product in the United States that's used by millions of people. And I, at the time, was doing all the marketing, all the digital marketing for that product by myself as a one-person team. There is another product under my company's umbrella that is very, very small and used by hundreds, maybe 1,000 people or so. And they had outsourced an entire team to be doing the work on that. So it was like a dozen people working on that at agency rates. And so much, much more expensive. And I found out that the company had intentionally not been telling me about it because they didn't want me to get mad. And if there's one way to make me mad, it's to try to not make me mad. And so once I found out about it, I threw a monitor. There was nobody in the path of the monitor. I was very clear it was late in the afternoon. There was nobody that could have possibly been hit by it. The monitor did not survive. But now I get to work from home, so it's never going to be an issue again. If I throw a monitor to my own, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. So that's it for voicemails. Everybody, thank you very much for using the speaker pipe. I think we're going to decommission maybe the Google Voice, because the quality of the speaker pipe's much better, and people seem to be liking it. So don't stop.
I know, it sounds like everybody's recording from their home studio.
To be fair, Mike and Rob both have microphone, Yeti mics that they use. So because the English apparently are very big audiophiles, whereas we saw with Frank Falls of Rad fame, the situation was quite different here in America. Well, thank you so much for all of your voicemails. Again, if you'd like to leave us a voicemail, go to shatpod.com and use the speak pipe feature. Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
Ooh, next week's a good one. I remember seeing the poster. It looks great. I had fun in the theater. I don't know if it's going to hold up, but upon breaking out of a dungeon, youthful thief Philip befriends Captain Navarre, a man with a strange secret. Navarre and his lady lover, Isabel, were cursed by the wicked Bishop Aquila, who desires Lady... Oh, shit. Isabeau? The hell's her name? Who desires Lady Isabeau for himself. His dark magic prevents the pair from ever being in the same place at the same time, except for Twilight. So they enlist Gaston in a dangerous plot to overthrow the bishop and break his evil enchantment. Commissioned by Jose V. Came out in 1985, and I think this is maybe our second Matthew Broderick film.
I can't believe it took him 4 years to make a sequel to Taps. Well, that concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movie. Thank you to all of our commissioners. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. Email us, host@shatthemovies.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or commissioning your own movie. Find all that information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, you can check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all that information on our website, shatpod.com/TV. Wherever fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by iTunes, please leave a 5-star review. That helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-hosts, Ash and Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Be sure to join us next week for the following movie.
He was a pickpocket who thought that anything was better than prison. Little did he know what he'd escaped from wasn't half as strange or frightening as what he'd stumbled into.
I do not believe what I believe, Lord. These are magical, unexplainable matters, and I beg you not to make me a part of them.
The knight who had saved him wanted only two things: to free his lover and to take his revenge.
I have waited almost 2 years for a sign from God.
Sir, the truth is I talk to God all the time. And no offense, but he never mentioned you.
The pickpocket was the key to his plan. But would you send a thief to guard your treasure? He was the last one in the world to act like a hero. It just happened by itself. And he was drawn into a magical, romantic adventure. Matthew Broderick, Michelle Pfeiffer, Rutger Hauer, Lady Hawk.
After the electricity and water are turned off, one of the cadets is severely burned as they...
He is severely burned. He really is.
He gets crispy.
After the electricity... I'm not going to be able to get through this sentence.
You can do it.
I'm going to come into a bad scene. Okay. After the electricity and water are turned off... All right.
You got it.